You're not broke. You've got a job, you pay your bills, you're functioning. But after rent, groceries, gas, and the other stuff that quietly drains your paycheck, there's maybe $200 left in your checking account if the month goes well. And then your tire blows out. Now, the problem isn't just the tire. The problem is that you don't have $180 sitting in savings, so the tire goes on a credit card at 24% interest. And just like that, $180 tire becomes $220 by the time you're done paying it off. Same tire, same problem, completely different price tag depending on how much money you had before it happened. That's the trap nobody explains clearly enough. Being poor is expensive. And I don't mean that as an insult, I mean it as a financial mechanics problem. Because the most expensive part of being poor usually isn't one giant disaster. It's that normal life gets more expensive when you don't have a buffer. A tire costs more, a medical bill costs more, your groceries cost more, your insurance costs more, your rent can cost more, even having a bank account can cost more. The same problems hit two people, and the person with less money pays more for all of them. That's one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck. Not because they're lazy, not because they're stupid, because when you don't have a financial cushion, life charges you extra for being unstable. So let's break down how that works, where it hits hardest, and why your first financial goal probably isn't investing, it's getting enough cash together to stop paying the most expensive version of everyday life. Start with the core rule. Cash is a price reducer. When you have money sitting there, problems stay the same size. When you don't, problems grow. A person with $5,000 in savings who gets hit with a car repair, a medical bill, and a broken appliance in the same month has three annoying problems. A person with $0 in savings who gets hit with the exact same month has three debt spirals. Same problems, wildly different outcomes. And once you see that, you start noticing the poverty premium everywhere. Take groceries. Buying in bulk is cheaper. The bigger container almost always has the lower cost per use, per meal, per whatever. But bulk only saves money if you can afford the upfront cost. If you've got $40 left until Friday, you're not buying the giant pack that saves money over the next 3 weeks. You're buying the small one because that's what you can afford today. So you pay more per unit. Then you do it again next week and again after that. People with money buy the cheaper version of the product. People without money often buy the cheaper of the checkout total, which ends up being more expensive in the long run. Same thing with sales and subscriptions. If you've got margin, you buy when things are discounted. You stock up when essentials go on sale. You pay annually instead of monthly because the annual plan is cheaper. If you're running on fumes, you buy what you need right now at whatever price it is right now. No planning, no timing, no buying ahead. Convenience becomes a tax you pay for having no buffer. Now let's get nastier. Look at bank fees. A lot of checking accounts charge maintenance fees if your balance falls below a minimum. $12 a month, $15 a month, sometimes more. And the people who don't pay that fee, the people with enough money to keep the minimum balance. So the person with less money is literally paying the bank for the privilege of having less money. That's $144 to $180 a year gone for absolutely nothing. Not for investing, not for better housing, not for getting ahead, just for being under the line. Now look at insurance. In many places, insurance companies use credit history as part of how they price risk. So if your credit got wrecked because of a medical bill, a layoff, or a rough patch a year ago, you can end up paying a higher premium every month for car insurance, even if your driving record is exactly the same as someone paying less. You didn't suddenly become a worse driver, you just had less money at some point, and now the system is charging you extra for it. That's the poverty premium in one sentence. You get punished once by the emergency and then punished again by the system that responds to the emergency. Same thing with apartments. If you can put down the deposit, you get the cheaper structure. If you can't, you may end up in a place with higher monthly rent, more fees, or worse terms, not because the apartment is better, but because you didn't have enough cash when the decision had to be made. The cheaper option is often only available to the people who can afford the upfront hit. And then there's the darkest version of this whole problem, payday loans. This is where the poverty premium stops being annoying and starts becoming predatory. You're $300 short on rent. Payday's 2 weeks away. You've got no savings, no family help, and your landlord does not care about your situation. So you take the payday loan. It feels like survival because in that moment, it is. But those loans can carry annual percentage rates of 300 to 400%. You borrow $300, you owe back $345 in 2 weeks. If you can't cover that, you roll it over. Now you owe more. And that's the business model, not helping you once, keeping you trapped. That's why a small emergency fund is so powerful. Because a $1,000 emergency fund doesn't just sit there looking responsible. It removes entire categories of financial predators from your life. It keeps the tire from becoming a credit card debt. It keeps the rent shortfall from becoming a payday loan. It keeps one bad week from turning into 3 months of damage control. And that's why I think one of the biggest mistakes in personal finance is telling broke people to focus on investing first. If you've got no buffer, your first financial goal is not the stock market. It's not crypto, it's not options, it's not maximizing some rewards card strategy. It's $1,000 in cash, real cash, in a boring savings account, untouched unless something breaks. Because that $1,000 doesn't just protect you from emergencies, it changes the price of your life. It turns the $180 tire back into a $180 tire. It lets you avoid the credit card interest, the late fee, the overdraft, the payday loan, the chain reaction. It gives you room to buy the bulk size, room to wait for the sale, room to say no to the worst possible financial option in the moment when you're desperate. And once you stop paying the most expensive version of every problem, something important happens. You finally get traction. Not because your income exploded overnight, not because you discovered some magic side hustle, because the leaks slowed down. The money that used to disappear into fees, interest, bad timing, and emergency markups starts staying with you instead. That's the real job of an emergency fund at the beginning. Not earning returns, not looking impressive, buying you cheaper problems. That's it. Cheaper emergencies, cheaper groceries, cheaper timing, cheaper decisions. The people who get ahead financially are not always the people making the most money. A lot of the time, they're the people who stopped paying the poverty premium. They got enough distance between themselves and the next emergency that life stopped charging them the penalty rate for being unstable. So, if you're starting from zero, here's the move. Don't worry about being sophisticated. Don't worry about investing like the people on finance Twitter. Don't worry about optimizing every category. Get the first $1,000. Sell stuff. Cut one expense. Take the extra shift. Automate $25 a week if that's what it takes. Because that first $1,000 is not just savings, it's leverage. It's the point where life gets a little less expensive. And if you can get there, you don't just feel safer, you start playing a cheaper game. I'm Brett. This channel is where we break down the financial traps, the hidden mechanics of money, and the wealth-building moves that actually matter, the stuff most people figure out way too late. If this hit different and you want more of it, subscribe.